All right, welcome back, everyone, to a little bit more Sons of the Forest. Now, a slight admission that needs to be made. There was a slight error, problem, a challenge, so to speak. Let's kind of catch up. So I was working with OBS a little bit, playing around with different scenes. You can create scenes in OBS, and I was watching the YouTubes, of course, on how to do it because I'm still learning how to use it. I don't know everything about it. I'm like, oh, cool, we can do some scenes here. We're gonna try this. We're gonna try that. So I created a new scene. And I was just kind of playing around with it, trying new stuff and adding new stuff. And in the scene, you can create little, visuals, and you can reference things and turn pictures on and all kinds of really cool stuff. And so I said, okay, cool, lesson learned. So I started the recording up, and I didn't even notice that the scene that I was playing around with, the test scene, was still up. So I recorded up for an hour. And then I'm like, okay, that was cool. And it did the thing. And then I came back to review it. And it was all blank, except you could hear my voice and me moving stuff around. I'm like, what the hell happened? So I pulled up OBS again. I'm like, oops. Oops. I see what happened. I forgot to change the scene. And I started a new recording. I forgot to do it again. It's like, oh yeah, I see what happens. I was just switching between them, and I'm like, okay, cool. Now I know how this works, and I forgot to do it again. So again, I was talking for an hour, and if you make a mistake once, it's a mistake. If you make a mistake twice, it's a mistake twice. You learned your lesson twice. So what have we done? We've done a little bit of work here. Let's go around over here. So first thing I did is I changed. Well, and this is not the first thing I did, but I changed these stairways out. The stairway from the ramp to a stairway. Very important because we're coming up here to the throne room. This is where the king gets to sit in judgment or in dispute of other people. Nice big throne room for the king. King sits here and listens to the disputes or the redresses by either the commoners or the nobility. The landowner comes and says, "Hey, I would like my taxes reduced," and the king would hear his petition and would say yay or nay. Or you're being an idiot, and now I'm going to double your taxes. So then he would listen, to the commoners if there's a civil dispute. We do need a counselor's chair. That counselor's chair sits right next to the king, like this. The counselor to the king, and the king would make decisions. And he would do that for a while throughout the day. So you walk up to the throne here, and this is the area where the nobles would be. They'd be standing here, watching the king. You'd have some scribes listening in. And the court would allow the petitioner to stand here, and the king in court allow the petitioner to address the king, and the king would come over and say yes or no. Why did you steal your neighbor's cow? Well, he owed me a cow because I mowed his lawn. I used my lawnmower and mowed his lawn. And then the king would ask, did you agree to this deal? And then the person would say, yes, I said I'd asked him to mow the lawn for a cow because I have an extra cow. Well, why didn't you pay him the cow? He has a legal right to the cow, so why did he not pay it? Well, he didn't cut the grass in accordance with the specifications that we had. He cut it at 6 inches, and I wanted it at 4 inches. The king would look over, to the other person, is this true that you did not fulfill the agreement? And the person would say, Your Majesty, we had an agreement to cut the lawn at 4 inches. However, at 4 inches, his entire lawn his sheep would not have been able to eat the grass. And I told him that. But he insisted that I cut it at 4 inches. And in good conscience, I couldn't do that. Because if I did that, his family would starve because all of the sheep would die because he couldn't feed them. And the king would say, is it true that he gave you this advice and you didn't listen? And the man would say, yes, I had planned to sell my sheep. I didn't need the sheep, so I didn't care. Did you tell this man this? Your Majesty, it's irrelevant to the topic at hand. He still owes me the cow. And the king would look over this guy and go, I believe the plaintiff over here, the plaintiff is correct. You did not fulfill your obligation. Even though you were trying to do your morally and ethical thing, you did not listen and follow the contract. Therefore, you must give the cow back to the plaintiff and off with your head. Don't try to weasel out of contracts, by the way. Don't alter contract deals. Don't play moral equivalency. Don't do that stuff. So you go to the hangman's noose, the other guy doesn't. Hey, Kelvin, what are you doing, buddy? Follow me. And that's... Where's my cross? Freaking Karens, man. Trying to give people moral guidance, stories. The Karens don't care about truth. Come over here, buddy. Trying to show people history. Teach them about kings and how they petitioned and redressed the government, sought to arbitrate disputes. And who shows up? The Karens. The Karens always show up. Always. All the time, in all ages, there were Karens. So anyway, let's continue our tour. So yeah, this is where the person stands and goes in and talks to the king for address of the government or a government favor or maybe a tax question or something of that nature. The advisor gives them advice. You'll have some scribes over there writing things down, and this is where the people would line up. They come out here and line up and go up the stairs. You'd have a guard here, and maybe a guard here, to say and point and say, "You, time to talk to the king." There'd be nobles right here, listening, making sure things were done right. And then we have a walkway that comes out of here, goes around here. We have to tear this down because that was the way up. But this is where the guards would patrol, and they can come up. We've got a guard station here to make sure that the king is safe in his throne. Now we'll tear this down in a little bit. So that's all done, folks. Well, most of it. We still have a little bit to do. Have to finish putting our walls in all around. Here, I need to wall this off except through here. This is our walk-in area where people can walk in. I want to try to move these columns back one to here. We're going to try that tomorrow. I'm not sure that I can, based on I know I can move that one back if I put in another column, but I took this column out, and I shouldn't have done that. Well, we can do this and this. Like that. Can I put a column in here? I can put a column here to hold that structure. Maybe create a box around this. And then I can move this out. No. I have to finish this column. Now I can remove this. So the goal is just to create a little boxed in area here. Just to hide the stairwell. Now, you know what we should do now? We should create a dungeon. Maybe we make the dungeon down here. We can make a dungeon over here. Do it like the deep area here. Yeah. Like a dungeon right in here. We could do that. So the people who are found guilty of being, you know, of not cutting the grass properly, that we could put them in the dungeon. We could do that. I think that would be fair. I would like to appoint some nobles, as per my right as king. So we'll have to think about who the nobles of the realms shall be. Oh, put your map away. Okay. Grab some water. Put that away. I have a boombox now. Let me put the boombox up. There's freaking deer everywhere. Just freaking deer everywhere whenever you don't need them. That's right, we keep this locked. And we got one there. Let's put this boombox in here. Place. You. Look at them. They're just freaking everywhere. Did I make sure that door is locked? Yes. I got a lock on my doors so the cannibals don't get in, you know? Oh, well, that didn't take too long. We still need to fill in the walls and stuff. We're going to do that today, though. We're going to do that. Have a nice... be a nice building day. There's Kelvin. Man, I'm telling you, I'm going to try and build a bed over here for him. Hey, buddy, wake up. Okay. Let's start chucking over some rocks. We're going to try to finish this up today or tomorrow. The floating fish. We still have the floating fish problem. I'll be able to finally tear all these zip lines down and do a proper zip line system. Had to move our zip lines several times. I'm going to need to think about appointing, like I was saying, I'm going to need to think about appointing nobles soon to manage. I mean, this is a big island, after all. We'll have to have some nobles manage the areas. You know, the idea of the nobles is that they are the extension of the king's will. Or maybe governor. We could have some governors instead of nobles. Because governors can be replaced. It's harder to get rid of. It's harder to get rid of nobles, right? If you're gonna have an empire or a monarchy, either one, don't have a noble court. Right? No noble court, no merchant court. I don't think that's a good way to set up your monarchy or your empire. Well, you know, it's semantics at this point. You know, the king is the absolute head of the state, such as an emperor. I don't know the semantical difference between the two. Maybe I'll look it up, see what the actual difference is. But it's hard to replace a noble cadre. Right? If one of the nobles is screwing around, it's hard to get rid of him because you got to keep the support of the family. But if you have a governor can be replaced if he's messing around. You know what I'm saying? So your governor's, you know, doing some shady stuff. You just march the troops in and relieve the governor of his position. Or you make the governorship, all governorships 10 years. They have to reapply for their job every 10 years. And of course, if you're, the problem with the governorship doing that though is they would skim money, so just in case they got released, you know, they would they'd have something to fall back on, but maybe make a law against that or something. I don't know. I don't know the exact answer, friends. Or maybe you make the governor's salary. You give the governor a salary that's so good that he wouldn't want to steal from the crown, you know? And you give him land to manage afterwards. So he has you know, he has skin in the game. Like, I'm not going to mismanage this. Are you out of your mind? I mismanage this. The emperor is going to take this away from me. Subject to the the emperor's review, his board of review. Have you managed your taxes properly? Have you managed your clients? The clients would be the people who work for the governor. And do you have a Senate, right? Or a representative body? I don't know. Do you form a republic? Of, a monarchical republic. That was that's been done before. Where the head of the state is the king, and you have a voting body. No, it's not like the emperors in Rome could do whatever they want. I mean, essentially they could, but they still had to bribe the senators. They still had to get around. They still had to work through the bureaucracy, which it did keep them in check. The crazy ones, Caligula, for example. He had like 5 historically really good emperors, and the rest were just kind of meh, or just kind of, they were just emperors. And then you had some really nutty ones, the crazy ones. I think governorships would be. I think governorships, a 15-year term for governorship. I think that would be preferable. Appointed by the emperor. It's like the title emperor, not king. Emperor. Emperor is good. Yeah, emperor is good. We shall choose emperor. We shall choose emperor. Let's see here. I can bring. Who shall the emperor be? Me, of course. I'm not giving up my power, my authority. Respect my authority. You will respect my authority. I don't know if I can do this. No. There we go. So we can still come in this way. Yeah. So it'll be 1 and 2. Here's the entrance. Two entries. Or do we go with a larger entry? 1 and 2. Well, let's just take a look and see how it looks, yeah? $10-year term or 15-year term? There's benefits to both, right? I think 20 years is too many, because you still need review. Or maybe it's just a Kelvin, buddy, come on. Don't do that. Or maybe it's one 10-year term. We get one 10-year term. That's it. And then you can apply for a magistrate position. Or another position to go. Maybe, I don't know, maybe lifetime governor. Maybe there's a lifetime governor situation because you know if you're governor for a lifetime, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about your guys taking bribes. But then again, he could become a thorn in your side because he can accumulate too much power. Right? You don't want the governor becoming more powerful than you. That's not something you want. More popular than their emperor. The emperor should always be more popular than the governor. And more handsome. Like myself. That's kind of the idea. I think we'll just do this. So, yeah. So we'll fill that one in there. It's kind of like the Supreme Court that we have in the United States. You know, you get on the Supreme Court and you're appointed for life, or until you resign, which is supposedly to cut out the idea of special interests buying your loyalty. You know, if you have an appointment for life, then nobody could really kind of get to you in terms of your beliefs will stay more static, I guess. But then what happens if you have a corrupt judge, So do I think judges should be appointed for life? I honestly don't think there should be lifetime appointments, except for emperor, of course. Once you're emperor, you stay emperor until you decide that you don't want to be emperor anymore. The exception is always to yourself. Yes, there's going to be bad emperors. We're just going to have to put up with it. That they're just going to be bad emperors. You're going to have to deal with it. It's just like there's bad presidents, bad judges, bad police officers, things like that. You just got to deal with those. Just make it right, but it's just human nature takes over, and bad people just become worse with power. I'm still thinking the 10-year governorship should apply. No nobles. We're not going to raise noble families, I think. Yeah. Well, let's not go that way. Then, if you don't have the nobles, then you don't have to worry about treason. No treason because there's no noble houses to treason against you. You don't have to worry about sedition amongst the nobles. You don't have to worry about buying the nobles off. You just appoint governors every 10 years. That's all you have to do. Don't have to worry about it. Say, well, what if the governor becomes seditious? Well, he's only allowed to be governor for 10 years. If he tries to stay in longer, you send in the legion, and end the problem right there. I think I've come up with a great solution. Look, I'll start my own country now. I'm going to start my own country. Call it my land. It's going to be my land. And anybody who wants to come onto the island or the country shall abide by my rules. The laws shall be called my rules as well. Come on, Kevin. Drop me a few stone, buddy. Just drop him in there so I can grab one. Taxes shall be capped at 10%. 10%. No more can be taken from taxation than 10%. I've always had the mentality that if God can do with 10%, then so can the government. You know, it's kind of my thought. The 10th. And the government has to maintain a 10th of their equity of GDP in the coffers. So if there is a national emergency, we don't have to print money. We just take it out of the reserve, and then as the reserve is depleted, we have to fill it back up. And now, in the event of a war, we would institute a very simple policy of yes, you can collect more taxes, but you have to fund the war somehow, right? The war has to be funded. So we could collect more taxes during wartime, which of course does slow. But we're in wartime economy, right? So there's going to be more production, which means more taxes off the assets that we need to make the war. So we can bump the taxes up temporarily during that time, and we put that in our. We put that as part of the Emperor's Constitution. The Emperor's Constitution, the principles by which the emperors shall adhere. And if the emperors don't adhere to the thing, they just I don't know what anybody's going to do about it. I haven't figured that part out yet. But we're going to make the assumption that the emperors shall be ethical, because I demand it. All emperors must be ethical and follow ethical policies and principles. If they don't, Slinky Monster got himself killed. Slinky Monster. Look at that. Got himself killed. Silly man. I think the helicopter trap did him in too. I'm just shooting ideas out here, guys. You can, you can throw in a few more if you'd like. The right of the citizenry to bear arms absolutely will stay. I think that's a fantastic idea. You can rely upon your citizens to defend your country if they have arms. It's not a requirement, but you can maintain certain arms, and you can carry them around freely. In any province, any governor who bans in any way individuals who they try to make some kind of law that says, oh, you can't have a gun with 16 shots in it. Can only have 10. Well, then we take that governor and we replace him because he's not following. We don't even give him a trial. We just replace him. He's gone. The Imperial Legion marches in, takes power. You only need to do it once, maybe twice, before precedent is set, and governors won't screw around. They won't try to pull that, oh, I'm governor, we can govern any way we want. No, you have to govern under the laws of the Empire. The Empire's rules are very strict. F around and find out. The Empire's not going to put with your crap. Okay? The Emperor is going to say no. Oh, that little monkey monster. Where'd you go? You got shot. Baby's so stupid. The government does not have the right to quarter troops in your home. Private property is private property. I think the first 10 amendments of the Constitution of the United States are a pretty good starting point. There won't be any voting, by the way. There's no voting in the Empire. Right? So there's no voting. You're not allowed to. Maybe on some things we can have a republic type vote, but there's no democracies. Democracies killed Socrates. Okay, so democracies suck. Democracies demanded that Socrates, a guy who was just talking, do bad things to himself. So democracies, no. And what they accuse him of? Influencing the youth. Like, what? What? You're influencing people. Oh, for shame. For shame. Greece was a awful experiment in democracy. The Greek states, they just fought each other all the time. There was no cohesiveness. You know. When you give voting rights to people who don't have skin in the game, as they say, your country falls apart. So we're not going to give voting rights to everybody. We could give voting rights to military service and civil service. So if you decide to join the military, then you get voting rights. If you decide to do civil service, like work for the government so a normal, like, let's say you worked for the government in the postal service, right? That's civil service. But you're not going to get like $50,000 a year. You're going to get like $40,000 a year. You're going to make a sacrifice in order to get the right to vote. That's how my administration's. That's how my country's going to work. You got to have skin in the game. Oh, you're born an American citizen. You get the right to vote. No. I don't know the name of our country yet. I haven't figured that out yet. You know, if you serve in an engineer corps, you know, like the Army has the Army engineers and Army Corps of Engineers. But what if you decided that you want to do civil service for the government? You know, an engineer will make a really good engineer makes a lot of money, but you decided to use that in the government, and you take a serious pay cut. So you're putting, you know, you've got skin. You literally have skin in the game at this point. But like being a secretary for the government, you know, no, you're not getting civil service for that. No, no, no. It's time to go to bed anyway. I'll sit on over here. We'll talk more about we'll talk about more of my government later, because you know this is important things. This is important. That's gonna do it for this episode. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.